All right, part 3 for Renie. When we left off, Renie has raised her family in Randolph now, and all of her kids have moved on. And she basically sells the house in Randolph somewhere around, I want to say like 1983 or somewhere in that range. And she goes back to South Boston.
Correct.
Where does she go in South?
She buys a house on Telegraph and Gate Street,
Yeah.
which is just a block away from the very top of the Telegraph, Dorchester Heights, Thomas Park area.
Beautiful big home.
Big, beautiful home. Beautiful. It was there for years. Nice, one of the old stately homes.
Yeah.
And I think it was a two-family, because I think the first floor she rented out, and she had an apartment down at the bottom, a one-bedroom that she would rent out, I guess, I don't know. But that was a beautiful house. Beautiful house, nothing had to be done.
Yeah.
It was just, one very nice house in Telegraph Street.
And amazing part of the story is she begins this second life, this new career with the tea.
She also is, she's also working for the MBTA.
I mean, so somewhere in her
Later in her life.
Yeah, like mid 50s or something, maybe.
Probably,
yeah.
Probably.
What did she do for the tea at first?
She was a collector at one of the MBTA stations, Andrew Square, Broadway Station, I don't know, Park Street. But she was a collector for the tea for a while.
Yeah, giving out tokens.
Giving out tokens, yep. And then she became a bus driver.
Yeah.
She became a bus driver, and she was working out of still living in Telegraph Street. She worked out of the Somerville garage, I think.
Yeah.
Driving the bus in the North Shore area.
Yeah.
She did good. She loved it. And she liked it. Whatever. But
and at a certain point in this range, Buster passes away.
Buster died
In 94.
Buster moved to Florida.
Yeah.
And had a condo in Florida. And Allison was in Florida at the same time.
Yeah.
And I can remember Buster calling me up one day because Allison was moved herself and Bob Dodd to Florida. And Buster called me up one day and said, "Ronnie, don't worry about her. If I open my door, I can look down the street and I can see where she's staying.
Yeah.
So she's still there.
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye on her.
Yeah.
Won't let anything happen."
And because again, Buster and Allie had a really nice relationship.
Correct.
Yeah, Buster was very close with her.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it was comforting to me that he was there keeping an eyeball on Allie, who made a rash move, but that's okay.
Yeah. But sadly, Buster passes away relatively young.
Very young.
Like maybe 50 or so, I guess.
A little bit older.
A little bit
but
older.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Bud has moved back to Southie and has this beautiful, great house and this whole new life working for the tea as a bus driver. And then she eventually, I guess through the tea, meets Jack.
Jack Hardy. Jack Hardy was her boss. He ran the barn, that's what they called it, I guess. He ran the barn at Somerville, and he was a Somerville guy.
Yeah.
And Jack Hardy was one of the most interesting guys. He was a POW in World War II. He treated, as he called her, Irene, very well. And he always understood that she was the boss. When she said no, that meant no.
Yeah.
He didn't debate or argue with her. He was the nicest guy.
Yeah.
Perfect match for her.
No, always had a smile,
He was
friendly.
very, very good to her.
Yeah.
And the perfect time she needed somebody to be able to lean on, that she could say no, and they would listen, was when Jack Hardy showed up.
Yeah.
So she was, no, she did really well, and Jack treated her really well, and they went all over the place. They took cruises up to Alaska, to the Mediterranean, down along the Mexican border, I guess. And Renie always said, the best cruise was the one to Alaska. I never understood it going to the Mediterranean. But they did a lot of travel. We went to, we as a family, Paulie, Mary, Davy, Marie, Renie, Jack, Betty, and Bill. We would go to Vegas during this period of time. And Jack Hardy would say, see you later. And he'd sit down and play blackjack all day long.
Yeah.
Never come with us to any of the things, because he thought playing slot machines was crazy.
Yeah.
And
He was
he
right.
just played blackjack,
Yeah.
and was easygoing and comfortable, and you knew where you'd find him when you needed him.
Yeah.
But no, we traveled all over the place. They traveled all over the place together.
Well, even before Jack, we should have mentioned, and we talked about it with Sister, but when her son Patrick was stationed in Hawaii with the Marine Corps, she she obviously took advantage, went out to Hawaii a few different times with her sisters. Talk about
When
that a little
Patrick
bit.
graduated from boot camp, his orders, from what I gather, was to go to Honolulu, Hawaii, and to he was in Hawaii for however long, for the
Several years.
however long the Marines chose to send him, and he finished his 4 years, and then extended one more year, so he did 5 years, and then extended another year, and then I gather when he tried to extend the 3rd year, the Marine Corps told him, you know, you got to re-enlist, or you no more extensions or something like that. And the reason he was extending, because his wife Ellen, who he had met in high school, beautiful girl, her and Patrick got married very young, and they ended up in Hawaii. And she was going to the University of Hawaii as the dependent of a Marine stationed in Hawaii. And she got very close to a doctorate's degree, whether or not she got it, as I understand it from Renie. But he kept on extending. But he had, I guess, an apartment right off the main street in Honolulu, the big strip in Hawaii, and Renie and Betty and Sister went to Hawaii. I'm sure Renie went many places with Jack Hardy on trips together. Betty went to Disney World. I don't know that she ever went to any place else, but I assume she went to Disney World with her kids and grandkids. And Sister, as far as I know, never went to Dorchester. Now the 3 of them are in Hawaii, staying at Patrick's small little apartment. Ellen would wake up and go to school every day. Patrick would wake up and go to work at the Marine Corps every day. So the 3 of them would head out to go to Waikiki Beach. And between the house and Waikiki was a mall, And in the mall was a
Tiki
a
bar.
tiki bar on the second floor above the mall. And Patrick told me one day that he came home from work and he had known they had gone out early. The three girls had gone out early to go to the beach and they went home. So he decided to go to the beach and see if he could find them. And as he said, as he was cutting through the mall to go to the Waikiki Beach, which is on the other side of the mall, all he could hear was, I was born down on A Street, grew up on B Street, Southeast my hometown. And he looked up in the tiki bar, and there three of them were a little bit under the weather,
Half in the wrapper.
having a great time singing Southeast songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and they went there 3 times. And Sister, like I say, Sister never left South Boston that I know of.
Yeah.
She was a homebody from forever until this. But they had great times when they would start to tell the stories of the three of them. They couldn't even get started because they would laugh so much. They had a group, the three of them had a great time. The 3 sisters, that late in life,
Yeah.
truly had a great time in Hawaii.
Well, how great is that? You know, the 12 siblings, 3 sisters, 9
Yeah.
brothers, but the 3 sisters at that stage, you know, close as could be,
Yeah.
able to have a great time together, and, you know,
Yeah.
coming from the circumstances, particularly you think about Sister, you know,
Yeah.
what,
With the
growing
other
up,
kids.
the depression and all of her huge family, and there they are traveling back and forth to Hawaii and having the time of their
Yeah.
life, you know.
Yeah.
And then Renie, you know, just being really a rock of the family, taking on so much responsibility, getting married at 18, you know, raising her family, and then here she is going to Hawaii, but then also cruising around the world and seeing all the sights and buying her own house and beautiful house in Southie. I mean, you know, that's really something.
It's called landing on your feet.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm glad for her.
yeah. Well,
I'm glad for her. She was important. She was important to us growing up.
sure. And important to all of her nieces and nephews too, and
Oh.
of course her grandchildren. And like we said, just a,
Yeah.
you know,
For a long period of time, she was really generous with her time.
yeah,
You know, her and her family, great family she raised. Great family she raised.
yeah. Renie, I think, ends up having what, 8, 9 grandchildren, probably. I want to say 9. I
She
think
got the
2 for Tommy,
3
4, 5 for Susan, 4 for Susan, 5 for Susan.
3 for Susan, 3 girls, right?
No, I thought it was maybe just the 3. All right, and two with Jerry.
Yep.
Yeah, and then she passes away in 2005, May of 2005. So 70, just shy of 70,
Okay.
right? But quite a life, quite a person.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are going to always remember Renie. That's part of the reason why we're doing this too.
Yep.
You know, so many great stories, so much laughter, a lot of fun. Anything else we can think of with Renie?
No, she was,
One of a kind.
as brother was for the oldest crowd, she was for the youngest crowd.
Yeah.
Kept us all together, was generous with her time, always took good care of, like me, Lenny, Jackie, Betty, Freddie. She thought was a pain in the butt, but that's another story, which we'll get to when we get to Freddie.
Yeah.
But no, she was there for everybody, and you could depend on her and Buster.
Yeah.
Her and Buster were really, really generous of their time with the family and for the family. Yeah, no.
Great. Okay, well, that's Renie.
Yep.
You are the next to be born, but we've covered you. So now we're going to move on to Leonard Daniel Lenny, and he'll be the subject of our next conversation.
Correct.
All right, Dad.
Very good.